we'll get rid of it.
Okay.
Sit down, will you?
Yes, sir.
9 o'clock on Thursday, October 31st, 24. This is the meeting of the Policy and Procedure Committee meeting. And to call the roll, please.
We've got Barron.
Yep.
Alt.
Here.
Whitlow.
Here.
Sure.
Is there any public comments this morning? And now we'll move on to the EMA report with Mr. Anderson. Oops. Excuse me, got a 20
Second.
Is there any questions or comments on the agenda? I have one. At 9:30, we're scheduled to have a Zoom meeting with the lady about the code book. So wherever we're at, when we get to about 25 after, we'll probably interrupt for that. The predictable will be, so I guess we gently adjust the agenda accordingly. So everybody knows. That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now we'll move on to Mr. Anderson.
Morning, everybody. We've got handouts of my report. Only incident that we had was just this past Monday. Diesel fuel spill occurred down by Buckley. Debris poked a hole in a fuel tank, dumped between 175 and 200 gallons of diesel on the ground. It was cleaned up by the Environmental Solutions, the Wisconsin-based trucking company. Actually notified them immediately when they knew. They pulled up onto the shoulder of the on-ramp, and that's where it all took place. Burn ban, it's been in place since October 11th. Actually, it was prior to that. That's when I issued a full press release after speaking with Chief Glenn and Chairman Schur. It's currently in effect. It remains in effect. I have texted Chief Glenn this morning, and their decision is going to be made after he talks to the fire chiefs. We may be able to lift that today. Don't know that yet. Once it is officially lifted, I'll be issuing another press release to everybody to let them know. National Hazard Mitigation Plan, we've added back Unit 9 schools in the city of Watseka. They've decided to join back into the county plan. The original meeting date that was in October has been rescheduled to December 12th due to unforeseen circumstances within American Environmental. It's still on track to be completed by the end, by July of next year. One training class that I took myself, I'm going to be scheduling with the sheriff to get stop and bleed training for all the Iroquois County deputies in the very near future. And then I'll be following up with Watseka Police right after that, and we'll be expanding that out further. I've added one other instructor currently. The LEPC meeting will be November 13th. Got some new things to discuss there that I learned at the summit. Marvin Sticknott reported that last time. It's decided to resign vice chair due to his residency outside of the county. We'll discuss that. Not too much went on at the Iroquois County Amateur Radio Club's meeting. And I went to the Mavis meeting last night and facilitated my last required round of training for what would be my IEMA accreditation. That's the line below it. I have completed all of the requirements for the 5-year, and we will be receiving our new 5-year accreditation, which allows us to continue all grants. For election day, county clerk reached out to myself and Sheriff Brzee. We had a meeting talking about possible scenarios that could play out on election day. Everything from polling place violence, power outages, internet disruption, all kinds of things were discussed. I will be assisting that day. I'll be on call all day, just in case something happens so the election process can continue. We're not anticipating anything, but there's always a possibility. I'm still encouraging everybody to follow through with my request for the NIMS trainings, ICS NIMS training. If anybody still wants me to resend that email to make that happen, let me know. I did hold a stop and bleed class by EMA volunteers nursing health department took the class, like I said, she's now added as an instructor, and I'll be moving that along. And we passed the 2,000 follower mark on Facebook, where we continue to add people. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you need anything more, it's on my written report. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Maybe some of your NIFA candidates over there sitting by.
I hope so.
We need to get that done, people. If you haven't done it already. Okay, next we'll move along to the committee chair reports, and we'll begin with Mr. Barron from the management committee.
Well, fine. See if there's any update on the new board building.
Move along, like the shell up, concrete poured, or insulation's on the wall.
I was going to do an update at the meeting, not here. Now we got nothing to talk about.
Well, it's exciting sometimes to see something finally happen.
Other than that, I think this regular.
ARPA committee, okay,
We should be wrapping it up. I believe the group has got the last of the applications, and we're going through them, and we should be done.
okay, continue on with health committee,
Felt to be no reports, but
getting an update on the next one, administrators.
I don't know. The guys down in the room know more about that than me.
It's probably.
Do we have a name? I knew it was Robin. I didn't know the last name.
Alan.
Everybody hear that?
She's actually gonna stop. She's gonna start tomorrow.
Fantastic.
You'll be doing that part. Okay, what about tax and zoning?
Tax, with Bree, we got a resolution, a list of parcels. Mia has no more reports. Kurt said he's got no more reports. I know we'll be going over all our ordinances.
That's the most important.
Cameron?
Levy,
Yeah, we got that too.
levy has to be done and pulled by the board at the Sunday meeting. The levy put together. Okay, initial, Mr.
Okay,
Monroe?
you got some report on touched on the morgue building. And they get some, 911, or not 911, some ARPA funds also for, to complete for equipment for it, I think. There was a vacancy over at the 911 center. And, StarCom radio training and ongoing. And there's more testing. 4 or 5 people will proceed to the written part of the test for the deputies. Of course, they have to pass the physical test first, so they can proceed to the written. And usually works.
Okay, finance, IT, Mr. Barron?
Don't know of anything special that's going to be going on here.
Not gonna approve the budget.
We've already approved it.
We have to put it on public. It's gotta be approved.
So will it have been on display long enough at that point? Okay, so yeah, then we'll approve the budget.
That would go into the scheduled special meeting at the time that we did it. Mr. Hall, highway.
I think we got a good report this time. We have the normal claims, lengthy as they are, we had them again. The real bright spot is, we're filled one position open, which requires, transportation, license for both most of them. And the second position, same time, has a party going home, making his selection, which Alan thinks is going to be yes, so we fill those 2 positions. And it says it's really interesting that so many over the long haul applications, he has and wants to get off a long haul. It's things like this, he had something like 15 applications to fill that spot. If we had none for a long time.
That paper right there, is for you, an email that I got yesterday from the Union Pacific Railroad, I thought you might want to share with the committee on.
I haven't seen it to read it, so I'm not
No, I
sure.
know, but you can read it, just,
Okay, then also, he's got lined up, interviews for the other positions open out there now with a lot of encouraging news of people applying. And he thinks it's gonna work out pretty fast. And the biggest thing here is some hearing papers that he gave me were it's a resolution agreement for the county engineer's salary. Takes two different agreements to be signed by the chairman of the board. And we say you're still chairman, and it's all made out before it and dated, and your name is in it, so I don't know where you go with it, but here it is for your consideration. The second one is for the payment by the state of Illinois for paying their big share of the salary expense, and they are the ones that set the salary.
that's all we had, when we hired him, we agreed on what his salary would be for next year.
Well, this is starting, but this year dated and it's supposed to be. If you want to take it up with him, I don't know where it could be sent to anyway,
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
okay?
Where we go.
If I need help on it, let me know.
Okay, sounds good.
I think that's all I have.
You know, sounds great. Okay, guess we got a lot of prisons today, so I'll go on my comments. We want to update on school bus, all public transportation. This is everything that's happened on that so far in the last couple of months. Nowhere. At a standstill. And we're waiting, essentially waiting to get some intelligent response from the state as to how much money we'll have available, and also some assistance in putting together a plan, because this is something that Iroquois County really cannot do by themselves. It's a situation we need to join with other counties, and right now Livingston County and Ford County are the two logical candidates to do that. Ford County is kind of the one that's holding some of the reins, because they're in between the two of them, between Livingston and Iroquois. And the counties have to be contiguous in order to have a multi-county agreement. So, it's hard to say where this thing is gonna go at the moment. We've exchanged quite a bit of correspondence. Sent a rather direct letter down to the IDOT, saying that the money that they were allocating wasn't gonna be enough. And the response that we got back from them is kind of ambiguous, that they're gonna study the matter and let us know at some point in the future. But we don't know when that will be. So the whole matter is a little bit at a standstill at the moment. But it's a very important subject, and it's one that will continue on for the next several months, I'm pretty sure, until it's resolved. So we have to the new board to follow through with this and make sure that we get the matter taken care of. Obviously, I'll continue to monitor it closely and work with the other counties for the rest of the month of October, November, rather. I doubt that anything is gonna be resolved during that time. I don't know, so. There's a lot of hard work to get put together, especially since we don't really know much about it. We don't know the routes, we don't know the money, we don't know the budget, don't know a whole lot of anything with it, so. So take care of that. The next,
Expand on that. Can I expand on that?
sure.
John and I went to meet up in Kankakee County. Roughly a couple hours. Karen showed, so did Morgan. And when it was all said and done, Kankakee County turned to us and said that they were going to do something else different. So as we were going before to be with Kankakee County, they came down here. They decided to go the opposite way. So I want that passed along to all your members so you know that.
And there's a new regime up there, and that's probably the result of that. Chairman Weaver was very favorable upon having us on some kind of alliance with them, agreement. He's out of the picture now, and that's the way the cookies crumble. Okay, I believe everybody should have in front of them a copy of the proposed holiday schedule for 2025. I don't believe there's anything unusual in that schedule. Customary for us to fill it about.
I want to make sure you have one. I'll show you that contract.
Is everybody else?
Do you need a motion to approve it?
Well, we do. I just wanted to point out that basically these are the same holidays that we do every year, and also conform with the union contract as well. Something that we probably don't really have a whole lot of leeway to change in any way, shape, or form, but nevertheless, we do need to adopt a resolution to that effect, so appreciate the motion. Second?
Dugat, Barron,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Stern.
The next one is a resolution designating the calendar for the 2025 county board meeting. It's on the back side of that same page.
We usually don't have to sign. Read it, it's on the back.
As you can see, every meeting is on a Tuesday morning, with the exception of the one on November 12th. And November 11th next year falls on a Tuesday. This year it's on a Monday, so next year it's on a Tuesday. That's Veterans Day, very important day. And the board meeting will be on Wednesday that month. So we need the motion to approve that. Second by Mr. Whitlow.
Dugat.
Yep.
Barron,
Yes.
Alt, Whitlow,
Yes.
Stern.
Okay, that takes us down to discussion and action on a violation of our floodplain ordinance. I think most of you are aware of what's going on there. So I think you have one of you an application that Ameren presented to the zoning department earlier this year, back in April, I believe it was. The date of the application is March 27th. The idea was to construct a substation out property that was before part of the, excuse me, part of the Louis K. Farm. I believe they purchased that land from the Louis K. Farm. That land happens to be within the floodplain. Apparently, we noticed quite a few trucks running through the center of town hauling dirt out that way. And It's been discovered that they're hauling that dirt onto that land in the floodplain. This apparently is a violation of our floodplain ordinance. And as such, I think it requires quite a bit of consideration on our part as to what action we might want to take. I've had discussions with our state's attorney about it, as well as several board members. And one of the things that may be appropriate to our discussion there, Mr. Duquette wrote a note to me and to the state's attorney. Would you want to read that, please?
Yeah, just so everybody knows, it was Doug and I got together, and I was the one that found it. Just driving by one day, going to a friend's house, and I took pictures of it, sent it to Julie, because obviously I knew it was wrong. And we took off ever since then after this, and we're at this point, I guess, is the best way to say it. But I gave a letter to John for Jim to read, and I'm going to read it out loud now what the letter was that I sent. I just wanted to find out where we're going from here. Jim, as you are aware, Amron has violated the county ordinances and potentially harmed the residents upstream from the Lewis K Road construction project in a floodplain. I am aware that you will be leaving soon, but this matter will continue to haunt us with our inactions. I feel decisions took place that did not allow residents to voice their opinions and concerns. Among them are a lack of the conditional use permit application and its process to gain issuance. Also, the H&H study was not reviewed by our engineer prior to the building permit being issued. This allowed all the dirt to be moved into the floodplain that violate our ordinance. According to the International Building Code that the county adopted and was in place, we had the right to rescind a building permit that we issued in error. We can stop this process. The majority of District 4 elected representatives and the members of the Tax Zoning Planning Committee are in favor of stopping this project and find an agreeable solution. I am certain that members of the county board attended an Amron-led meeting in Gibson City in the spring of 2023 when discussion was taking place on the new transmission line going through our county. Amron mentioned a new substation was needed in Sheldon and one in Northwest Gilman. They were asked specifically about Watsika, and the board members were told that it is not necessary nor in their plans. This project will probably outlive us all, and we are willing to pursue it beyond your tenure with Mike Quinlan's guidance or others if necessary.
Does this violate our ordinance, or is it also paid for?
Question I need to ask, we're required to send them, if we believe they're in violation, if they are, send them a letter detailing that violation is. That's a condition proceeding. Both of them have to notify them that they're in violation of our ordinance. And then they have 10 days to remedy that. Assuming they don't remedy it, which is highly unlikely, then the ball was put back in our court as we have to enforce our ordinance. So that's number one. We need something about it, preferably certified, so we can help the guy detailing what the violation is. And I would ask that be done. It clearly violated. And they're hauling in during the field work, not using their own dirt, which are very reflective. I would ask that be done immediately. Be in compliance with our own ordinances and giving them notice. And even the attorney who represents Amron said that in her letter, that it was. The fourth paragraph, section 1850 of the county's development and special flood advisory areas ordinance outlines the procedure the county is to follow if the legal flood violation of the ordinance. even assuming the county has jurisdiction here, which we believe it does not, which I disagree with. Insisting that construction pause until its review of the study is complete is not part of the procedure. Rather, the county zoning administrator must provide a written notice detailing the specific violation that exists. Permittee, which is Ameren, then has 10 days to correct the violation, and if no such correction occurs, only then can the county file suit to require the permittee, Ameren, to correct the violation. So even they acknowledge that that's what we need to do, and I would ask that that's what to do.
Make a motion to that effect, then.
I'll second.
I think we need to also discuss it a little further to identify it. At least for the record, if you look on our floodplain ordinance on page 9, the middle of the page on item number 3, specifically states that the proposed development activity will not have a net adverse effect on the SFHA. Any fill material used shall be obtained within the floodplain area of the property for which the developmental permit is obtained. That's the clause I think that we're primarily concerned with. There are a couple of other places later on in the ordinance where it effectively says the same thing. I think that's the one that we should be citing in the letter that we were talking about writing. So I think that's particularly important. Also, I think another thing that's very important, you should have in front of you a copy of the application that Ameren filed. You'll see at the bottom of the second page, it says that we hereby agree to reimburse the county for building permit review, even if in fact this becomes necessary. And then underneath it says, in consideration of the application attached form being made a part hereof and the issuance of permit, we will conform to the regulations set forth in the Iroquois County building ordinance. That's underlined in our application to draw attention to. Further on the same page, even though it's a little faint, there's the signature of the representative from Ameren. So they have agreed to follow our ordinance in our application. The ordinance clearly says you can't bring fill in from outside. There's no federal or state ordinance that covers this. This is a local ordinance. Ameren is likely to cite the Public Utilities Act, and it says that they in effect have a condition such as eminent domain, that they can go anywhere and put their poles and towers and so forth, wherever they choose. In my mind, there's a hole in that, because I don't really think that the intent of that Public Utilities Act is to let Ameren build a substation right in the middle of the Iroquois River, just as an example. Well, if that's the case, where do you draw the line? Because the floodplain in flooding conditions really becomes a part of the river. It's there for a purpose. If you allow them to fill in with this dirt from someplace else, it reduces the available area for flooding to occur and impacts adversely all the other residents and properties in the area downstream from that point, even backwards. I mean, it's just something we can't allow. And the other point that I think we need to keep in mind, we don't enforce our ordinances, there's no sense in having ordinances. That's what they're there for. So we need to live by them and abide by them. A lot of effort went into the preparation of these ordinances. So I think that's part and parcel for what we're looking at.
There is no state ordinance.
I'm not aware of that. No, it really doesn't matter, since they've agreed to abide by our ordinances. And I mean, we have the floodplain ordinances for a reason. it impacts our flood insurance premiums around here. So the enforcement of those ordinances, if we don't enforce our ordinances, that could affect our flood insurance premiums. A lot of people pay flood insurance.
So if there is no state or federal ordinances applying to this, and we're the only ones thinking of applying to it, how do they say that we have no jurisdiction?
I don't agree with this. They can say a lot of things, and I'm sure they will, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with it. We do have jurisdiction. This is not in the city of Westseco.
So this lady is on the Zoom side. We need to interrupt and take care of that. We'll come back to this as soon as we're finished with it. You also should have somewhere in front of you these were distributed at the last meeting. I think everybody has a copy of it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The days that we're talking to, is that correct?
Yes.
Basically, if you recall, we had two different proposals for this manual, and I think we need some additional information to try and distinguish between the two. I know we got a picture of this.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Jill.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
So I've got you here with the Policy and Procedure Committee.
Hello, everybody. I don't know how many are in the room, but hello.
We got quite a few here. John Shirley, County Board Chairman. And we got quite a few county board members here because we have another matter, but it's all related anyway. So basically, we wanted to get some clarification and a distinction between the two different proposals that you submitted for our county code book. And
Recording in progress.
Understood. Okay, so let's start there. Let's start with our proposals that I sent you. That helps me understand where we are at. So I did send you a republication proposal. Let me share my screen just to make sure everybody is on the same page. Can y'all see my screen that actually has the proposal up on it?
yeah, we got it.
Perfect. So this is the republication proposal, and then I also have the recodification proposal. So let me navigate to both of the pricing pages because I'm assuming that's where we're going to start. So let's start with the republication first. So a republication with a code update is going to take your ordinances since the last time we updated your code, which was in 2013. Okay, so we're going to take all of those ordinances that were submitted to us. We're going to update them and incorporate them into the code of ordinances in the respective sections. We're going to republish it. So we will go in and clean it up, remove all the broken pages, make clean copies. And that is the $8,475 amount that you see. Now, if we move to the recodification process, it's a much bigger, longer length project, and it will go from about 15 to 24 months. And I know that's a wide spread, but it varies based on the material, how much time the attorney needs to do a legal review, how much time the county needs to review the actual documents and send them back. So in all, what will happen with that one is we will do that front end code update. So we will take all of those ordinances and incorporate them into the code. We will then take your code and it will shift over to our attorney who will conduct a legal review of the entire document. that, and they will look for any sort of inconsistencies or errors inside the code, meaning it could be redundant or duplicate ordinances. It could be conflicting ordinances. It could be ordinances that are out of date or sunset. And they will look at everything within the code. They will also compare your code to state law to make sure that everything that is in the code is in compliance. So that's a huge step of it. And again, that's why it takes so long, because it does take a long time to go through everything and make sure we get it all reviewed for you. With that, then at the end of that process will be a legal memo will be issued. That legal memo will outline all of the attorney's findings, and then they will give you an opportunity to have a teleconference with the attorney to help answer and clarify questions or findings that they have, so that you can provide feedback to all of those items that are listed on the legal memo. Once we get those answers back, we will incorporate all those into the code and make those changes. From there, we will issue a draft proof. Now, this is the final time the county gets to put their stamp of approval on it, or their reading. If you don't like the way something was changed, if you don't like the wording, the format, the layout, it doesn't matter what it is, now's the time to tell us. And I do apologize, I am fighting allergies and losing my voice. But now's the time to tell us, because this will be the last time we get to review the code before it becomes final. At the end, we will take all of those changes, incorporate them in, and issue a final code of ordinances. This will be the adoption ordinance, that will go back to the board for approval. And basically, this ordinance will say, if it's in this code book, it's law. If it's not, it doesn't exist. It's been repealed in its entirety. So therefore, it resets a foundation for you to start working from. And then you can move from there, and start amending and adding or repealing ordinances as you need in the book. So that's the difference in the pricing of the two projects. One's a much lengthier process. Obviously, it includes the legal review, which is a huge piece of the puzzle, whereas a republication is basically taking your code as it exists now, incorporating those new ordinances, providing new copies, and moving forward. With both projects, you get 3 printed copies. If we need more than that, then we can add those in. And then you'll also notice that moving forward, so both of those are the one time, and we just get to choose which option we want to move forward with. But moving forward, once we get your code completed, no matter which way we go with it, we will move forward doing the code management piece of it. There's 2 pieces of that. The first one is the supplementation services. So obviously, you're going to continue to write ordinances, change ordinances, update ordinances. And as you do that on an ongoing basis, you're going to send those ordinances to MuniCode. With that annual fee of $2,200, that covers all of your traditional normal ordinances. So your repeals, your section adds, your section amendments, things like that. What are not included is your big one-time large project. So if you come back and say, Crystal, we want to pull out all of our fees out of the entire code, and we want to make one comprehensive fee schedule, that is a big one-time project. If you come back 10 years down the road and say, we really want to do another legal review of the code book, again, that's a big one-time project. Those would be quoted at that time, okay? But the 2,200 basically covers your normal, ordinary, moving forward ordinance changes, okay? The second piece of that is your online services. The online services, you can start at the basic level, which is the $550 that you see here, or you can go up to the bundle package of $1,375. And I'm happy to show y'all the premium features that you get with that, because it's a huge difference in how staff is able to manage, how you are able to access, and how the general public is able to access and work and search and find things that you need to in the code. It is, to me, worth its weight in gold. And I will tell you, probably 95% of my customers, if not more, start with the bundle package, because it's got so much value in there that you're getting that you wouldn't get with just the basic services. So do you guys have any questions about the proposals, the processes, anything like that that I can help answer?
One question that I have is, for the past year or so, we've been going through the code book that we have chapter by chapter, and our primary purpose is to review the content of it and determine whether or not the practices that we're following or whether they need to be changed for whatever reason. So we have not gotten back to the back section of the book yet that contains our ordinances, but we're through the chapters that pretty well covers all of our other functions. So I guess the question is, where does the work that we've already done fit into the picture?
Well, either way, we will start with the code book you provide us. If you've done some of the work up front and feel comfortable with it and don't feel like you need to do your own legal review or the recodification, then we can start with the republication. At any time, at any point that we hold your code and we're working with your code, you have access to our code attorney services. So if, let's say we move forward with the republication and you decide, I really think we do need to have an attorney go through it and make sure we're in compliance with state law, or make sure, just do a full review to make sure there's no errors or inconsistencies in the code and review the state law. We have all of those services available. And again, we can quote that at any time during the process. As far as what work you've already done, that's going to be your decision as to whether you start with the recodification or the republication.
Anyone else have any questions they want to?
Question I got for you is, well, how much is that quote then?
For what?
For to get the lawyer to go back through all the paperwork, or is that considered in the premium bundle?
No, so the premium bundle is for online services only. Okay, so if we wanted to do a one-time quote, say if we started with the republication, which is shown here, we get everything up and running. It'll take probably, I'm going to say around 4 to 6 months to get your code up and running online. Once we get that done, then we will move forward with the annual renewables. If at any time you decide you want to do a legal review at that time, then we would provide a quote at that time, because it will depend on the actual code itself at that point in time. And it could be based on adding additional ordinances. It could be repealing ordinances. So the volume of the material will change. The condition of the material will change. And so we would quote that at that time.
What's the average quote for a legal review?
That's a good question, but there is no good average. I can give you a ballpark. I'm gonna say 6,000 to 8,000 maybe. How many? Let me see something real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna say probably in a 6,000 to 8,000 range for you.
Right.
And again, it's gonna depend on what condition of the code is in at that point.
We haven't done any legal review. We haven't checked any of the updates on state statutes and whatnot. We've just been looking at the content of the book itself. As I said, there's a number of things in there that needed to be changed to make it consistent with the way we're operating at the present time and so forth.
And that's a great point. And what I would also say is there's a significant difference, obviously, in the cost of the two projects, but how they're both built. So a republication is all going to be an upfront cost. So as soon as you get the bill, you're going to get the bill for the republication and code update, as well as the supplementation services and the online services. A recodification, we're going to take this amount here, and let me digress just a bit. I did not talk about gender neutralization. We're going to go through your entire code, remove out all references specific to gender specific, so men and women, and we're going to replace them with gender non-specific. So we're going to neutralize your code to avoid litigation for liability or offending parties, if you will. So it'll take out fireman and or policeman and replace them with personnel or service officer, things like that. So with that though, with the recodification and the gender neutralization, that's 15,580. We're gonna bill that in these 4 payments. Now, I referred to it as quarterly payments, but it's not quarterly in the sense of a calendar year. It's quarterly in sense of the actual project progress. So you get 25% of that amount billed upon execution, 25% at that legal memo, which typically occurs between 6 and 9 months. 25% upon submission of proofs, again, probably another 3-ish months after that, maybe 3 to 4 months. And then, of course, the final delivery. At month 18 is when you're going to get billed the renewables. So it allows you to move forward with a larger project that gives you a more comprehensive legal review of your code against not only itself, but against state law. But it'll also give you a little bit of time to budget in that next phase, if you will, plus your first year ongoing services. Would you like me to show you a couple of the premium features online so you can see them?
That'd be fine.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, let me jump into that then. So right over here, I've gone ahead and pulled up our Illinois customer list. This shows you all of the customers that we currently provide services for and host their codes online. Obviously, your code isn't on here. Would love to add you to it. But you can see we do several counties. We do a lot of cities. And there's a lot of work going on there. All right. So let's jump into what one of our code onlines look like. So we also, in addition to just our codes, we have additional services. We have municipal websites, we have agenda and meeting management systems, we have social media archiving, next request, we have Parks and Rec notification, we have emergency management notification, we have a process digitization or not a process automation service. They can help you move from a manual process into more of a electronic automated process. And we have our community development, which is our planning, permitting, licensing, code enforcement that allows you to work with those services. Now, what I will say is MuniCode was purchased by Civic Plus in 2021. So we came over with 70 plus years of experience. We host about 4,300, 4,400 codes online across the nation in all 50 states. Civic Plus itself has over 10,000 customers, and we even have some in Canada, but we don't codify in Canada. So with that though, what I want to point out is our websites, our social media archiving, our community development, our agenda meeting management, and our codification services are all integrated in some way, shape, or form. So for instance, if I am an enforcement officer out in the field and I see a violation, I can go to my iPad, my computer, whatever I have to work out in the field. I can start that notification process and it will automatically populate the information from the code. Same thing with the agenda meeting management. I'm doing my minutes, an ordinance has been passed. I can simply click a box in the minute module and say send to MuniCode. And as long as you're using one of our premium services, which I'll show you here in a second, it will automatically populate that area, that ordinance to your code online in 2 to 5 minutes. So when we're talking automation technology, getting the information into your customer's hand, making it as easy as possible to find that information and making it transparent, the integrated suite of softwares and services that we offer, second to none in my opinion. And just a little bit about me and my background. I started at a city here in Texas, 10 years as a code enforcement officer and a registered sanitarian. So I know a little thing or two about a code. in ordinances. I did a lot of researching and drafting of ordinances myself, so, and worked very closely with our city attorney there. All right, so let's jump in. Let's look at one of our online codes. So I've pulled Great Falls, Montana. This is a live website. So if you go to their code online, you're going to see the exact same thing I am. Obviously, we have our toolbar over here on the left-hand side. We have a banner, which is in part of the premiums bundle. So we can make it have that look and feel, the branding, marketing of your county's information. Obviously, our search bar is front and center. What I will say about our search is that it is a proprietary search feature that we built ourselves. It's an advanced Elasticsearch. So you can use Boolean-based searches, you can use wildcard searches, you can use exact phrases. There's a lot of good information and ways that you can get to the information, no matter how succinct or how vague you are with your search criteria. We have built in Google Translate. So if you have any citizen or online user that needs the code converted to their native language, literally a click of a button and it's going to convert the code into their native language. Okay. I don't speak Arabic. I only speak English, and Texan English is a little different. So I'm going to go back to English for me. Now, obviously, this is our table of content. Over on the side, you will see these different tags. They all mean something, or they provide a different service. So let's jump into our premium services. I did mention the banner for you. The next one that we created was CodeBank. What CodeBank does is when we kick your code off in our system, it's going to start down here. And with our annual supplementation services, we can supplement your code up to 4 times a year online. So you'll get 4 times electronic updates, and then you'll get once a year. All of those updates will be consolidated into one package, and you'll get the paper inserts for your code book to replace those affected pages so that you get a new updated code book. You do get 3 code books with either option. With the recodification, you do get binders and tabs. With the republication, you do not get the binders. So keep that in mind. And if we need additional hard copy books, we can certainly do it, but having it online and having the online version more updated than anything else, we find that most people go there, especially how easy it is to find things. So with that, so every time we supplement your code book, add those new ordinances in and incorporate them into the code, we're going to supplement, we're going to bank that previous version. So if I wanted to go see what the code book looked like in 2013, I can click that link and it's going to tell me I'm viewing the 2013 version. I don't have to go to a file cabinet. I don't have to go to a storage box. I don't have to go bother the clerk to figure out where that older version was. And then I don't have to manually compare it, because who has time or wants to do that? I know I didn't back in the day. I had to do it all manually. So what our developers did was added CodeBank Compare on top of CodeBank. And whether I click this button here that says view what's changed, or this show changes button, depending on which page I'm on, it's going to give me this right-hand pop-out box. It's going to show me those sections that need to be reviewed. And my computer is running a little slow, and I apologize about it. Let me see where that one is, and I don't see it right off the top of me. Yeah, so here it automatically does the strike through highlight for you. And what it's doing by using those show changes button, it's taking the current version and then comparing it to the most recent version. Okay. Most people go, you know what, that's great, Crystal, but what if I needed to go further back in time? Let me find, there we go. I like this one. If I wanted to go further back in time, I can come over here and hit this compare versions button, select any 2 supplements at all, and then it will automatically do that strike through highlight for me between those 2. So when you're talking zoning enforcement, grandfather clause, developmental type enforcement or inspections, or even just criteria, this is huge. It is a huge time saver. I love CodeBank Compare. With CodeBank Compare, you also get e-notify, because we all are moving away from let's not show anybody any of our information. We don't want anybody else to know, to a fully transparent government. Not only that, but we don't want it to always have to be reactive. We don't want the citizens to have to come in and ask for that information, which not only puts a burden on them, but it also puts a burden on staff time, right? So we want to take that off the table and give them the ability to get that information in real time, just like the county does. With that, they can come in to get notified. They can select, they'll enter their email address at the top. I'm signed in as my administrator, that's why I can't see it. And then they tell the system exactly what they want to be notified of. Maybe they're a utility contractor. Really, they're only interested in the water sewer storm drainage plus the maybe zoning or construction piece of it. Maybe they're a developer. Maybe they only are interested in the land development code. Whatever it is, they tell the system what they want to be notified of, click submit. They'll get a confirmation email. Once they confirm it, anytime you update your code online, which will be 4 times a year, then they will get an email that says county code online has been updated. Click here to see the changes. So think about not only your online users, your residents of the county, but think about your cities that are in the county that have residents too, that they also utilize or lean on the county's code, probably planning and zoning at some level. That's a huge piece of proactive communication with your residents that it gives them the ability to choose what they want. So their experience with the county becomes less negative, right? Because right now all they're getting are bills or citations or stop orders, whatever they may be getting. Most of the interaction with the county is not in a positive light. We need to change that. We want to change that and that's across the board in the government perception. It's not just York County, it's everywhere. So that's Code Bank Compare with the banner. I'm going to jump over here to our landing page. So this ordinance right here is a new ordinance. It's been passed, it's been approved, fully enforceable. It hasn't been codified yet. That's the only holding. So like I mentioned, this one has the meeting detail button. That means to me that it has been sent to me through that agenda software that I talked about. If it doesn't have that, that means they emailed it to us. I don't believe you have our agenda software, which is fine. We will be given an email address and you just simply email that address, that ordinance to us when it's passed. We will again put it on the holding page here. The adopted ordinance is not yet codified until it is ready to be incorporated into the code. At that point, we're going to hyperlink it in 3 different locations. First one is the supplement history table. The second one is the code comparative table, and I'll just jump in here and take a look at that. So this tells us the ordinance, the date it was adopted, the section or what it did to the section, added, amended, repealed, and which section it affected. Now I'm going to grab my little scroll bar here. We're going to go down here to the bottom. So you can see where this city did not have Ord Bank because those ordinances are not hyperlinked. These are ordinances that have been Ord banked and they were sent to us via email. And I can tell the difference because this has that meetings detail button. And I know I keep mentioning that, but at some point, if you guys ever look at our agenda meeting management software, you'll be able to see that meetings detail button. And if I want to see ordinance 3215, that's going to tell me what's required. The why is it required or why did we pass it information is going to be at that commissioners meeting. It's going to be at that board meeting. So this meetings detail button, if I click it, will take me directly to the section of the code that talks about that meeting where that ordinance was discussed and or approved. Again, if you're thinking from it's to some sort of staff perspective or general user perspective, they don't necessarily understand where the information is kept all the time. So this helps them connect to that piece of information that is typically the next step that people ask for. I want to see the ordinance. Well, now I want to see the agenda where this ordinance was discussed and why wasn't I notified? That piece of evolution and that next segue of information is at their fingertips. And that's another good, huge piece for proactive customer service. Now I'm going to go back here to the code and we're going to navigate to one of these sections. Let me see. Yeah, let's go to this one. And what we are going to see in the section history notes. Goodness, this is a table. It's jumping all around on me. Let me see if I can go back to it. There we go. In the section history notes here, I can see this ordinance 3251. I can see the meeting detail button, but if I wanted to see that actual meeting, I can click on that that ordinance. I can click on that hyperlink for that 3251 and it will open. Same thing if I wanted to see ordinance 3249, it will open. Ordinance 3221. And when I say it'll open, I'll just go ahead and open one up so we can see it. It's the actual ordinance that the city sent to us with all of its glory. So I love this because again, it helps show the evolution of that section of the code, all of that research. I don't have to go digging in archive files. I don't have to know where everything is stored. I don't have to task this county staff time with knowing exactly where those older ordinances are held and what they look like. All of that is at our fingertips, and that's a huge time saver. And so that is Ord Bank. We do have an additional service, and let me navigate to one real quick. 10.11.5, let's go there. Well, that's going to be a table, so that may take me just a second. Yep, nope, let's go to a different one. I want to find one that it's going to be easy for you to see. 346. I don't know why I'm not finding them. They may have not wanted them linked, so let me. I'm determined. I know they're here. I'm wondering because it was done multiple times. 10.11.10. Let me try that one. Or that they're in tables may make a difference. But what we can do is pre-link the ordinance that's in that home page and show that this section has been amended. Typically at the top of that section, it would say this has been amended by. For some reason though, it's not showing me, and it could be my computer. It's been acting up a little bit lately. I put it through the rigors on a regular basis. So, but that's OrdLink. OrdLink is not included in the bundle package. You can add it if you want, and I do apologize for it not working. But let me show you something else we can do. So I'm assuming you have your own zoning section of your code. Do you have your own GIS map?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So anywhere in your zoning or in your code that you want to refer somebody to that 3D GIS map, we can do that. We just need to know what you want that note to say, and where you want it to link to, and we can do that. So I've gone ahead and opened up there. I clicked the link and I've gone ahead and opened that up because again, my computer's running just a bit slow. So we have our own GIS third-party partner. They can help you add onto your current code if you need to. But I'm assuming you have your own third-party or your own GIS manager in-house?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So as you can see here, I've gone into this C2. I'm just saying, hey, I'm a developer. I see that this property is available. I want to see what it looks like. So I can come here. I can see the street view of the property. I can see the condition of the property. But if I wanted to see what I'm allowed to, or this says C2, that says C3, let me try that one. Yep. So this one tells me the street view. I can see a little bit better version. Anyway, I can see the landscaping that's already there. I can see the parking surface. I can see, is it going to be sufficient for what I need? And if so, then I can go back to the use calendar over here, or the use table, by simply hitting the allowed uses link, click that, and I revert right back into the code. In this case, it's going to take me to their use table, which I'm going to tell you is the way that we normally do it. We would put our cursor on the C2 and we would scroll down like this to see what's allowed. What we've done is taken every one of our tables and outfitted them with this expansion feature, it opens up that table to a much bigger table platform. You can see it. I have locked table headers, so I never have to do the up and down scroll again. That is just another time consuming process. And if I wanted to print this table out all by itself, I can do that down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I can obviously print it out from our quick links over here as well. That's going to grab all of this additional verbiage on it, but sometimes we just need to print the table itself and not the additional verbiage, so we have that option as well. Pardon me. So the next one I'm going to show you is also not in the value bundle package. This would be an additional purchase if you wanted it. It's called MuniDocs. What MuniDocs allows you to do, you get the administrative access to come in, and you would be the one who manages this portion of the service. So you get the ability to upload any county document that does not change the code. So it can be temporary ordinances such as elections or taxes or annexations, things that don't typically get codified. It can be your budgets, it can be resolutions. You can set it up in different orders. So this is their minutes they've done. Let's show you some policies that they've got uploaded here. All of that is OCR index, meaning it's optical character recognized. So anytime that you upload any of the document, it's automatically scanned. So for text purposes. So in this case, Addison, Texas is a highly industrial city. They do a lot of engineering work there. And so I know Jacob's firm is one that they do a lot with. So I'm going to search for that document. Let's say they're up for another project that you want to grant to them, but you want to go out and take a look at some of their previous work. Well, that's going to require pulling contracts, pulling resolutions, pulling the engineering specs, the design specs. Then you're going to have to go out and take a look at it. Well, I'm going to take some of that burden off of you and the city's time. If we've got it uploaded, all I need to know is the customer or the engineering firm's name. So in this case, it's Jacobs. So I can come over here and see minutes, ordinances, resolutions. Not interested in ordinances, really not interested in minutes. I really want to look at their resolutions, that's where their professional services agreements, where they were awarded, are found. So over here on our breadcrumb trail, I can see that it shows me the resolutions 2018, here's one in 2019, here's one in 2020, 2023. If I want to see what that document looks like, I can simply click that link. It's going to open up the uploaded document that was uploaded. In this case, it's the resolution that's also going to award them the engineering job. It's got the agreement with it. And then if I continue on, it's going to have all of the design specifications with that agreement and all the language. That's huge time saver. Okay, that's a lot of information at the fingertips. And think about it, this is a public facing portal. So all of the residents, the county residents, have access to this, anybody who comes online. So if you're looking at it from an economic development purpose, they have previous jobs they can look at. They have the code requirements they can look at. They have the agenda and meetings access if you had that software. Like, they have all of that information at their fingertips. That's significant. Now, the final one I'm going to show you, the final premium feature, is probably by far my favorite because, like I mentioned, I used to be a code enforcement officer. I did a lot of ordinance researching and drafting, and we all know that takes a lot of time. But primarily, what do? We contact another city, we borrow theirs. I can give you an example of, I wrote the first smoking ban ordinance in Texas. And I was having to snail mail and fax mail from California because they were the only state that had one at the time. So it took a long time, a lot of waiting for the information to get back to me. We don't have to do that anymore. So I can simply come over here to start a new search. I can search whatever term I may be looking for, and let's just search marijuana. Now, if I wanted to pre-filter this, I could do so by selecting the state, because we are in all 50 states. Obviously, you don't want to look at everything. You don't have to. But I can come over here and select just Illinois. If I know my benchmark cities, I can go ahead and pre-filter those out here, but I'll show you what I do. I've gone in here, selected Illinois marijuana, and we're going to hit search. Matter of seconds, I have 3,200 hits. Now notice up here that it's in the code as 3,200s, but I also have ordinances. Remember, we talked about Ord Bank being one of the premium features. Any new ordinance that has ever been banked will appear here. So if I wanted to see Mundelein, I'm probably going to really martyr that word. But if I wanted to see the ordinance that they just worked on about marijuana, I could do that. Palatine, Hazelcrest, I can pronounce that one. Let's go there. So with this one, if I wanted to see the ordinance, I could literally just click that link. If I wanted to see the documents related to it, in this case, agendas, audits, budgets, minutes, that's Muni Docs. Remember, that's the other premium feature. But if I'm looking specifically for code references and I really want to do an apples to apples comparison, I'm obviously going to filter out just county. So I'm already down to 137. That's huge. Now I'm going to come down here to population size. So I'm going to get rid of that population band and we're going to go back to the respective band. I'm down to 5 marijuana ordinances. I didn't have to contact any of my peers. I didn't have to ask anybody for a copy of an ordinance. I didn't have to look in my own benchmark cities individual ordinances to find it. I didn't have to navigate to their website. I didn't have to navigate to find the link to their code. I didn't have to navigate through their codes to find it. It's all right here. Literally with the click of a button, I can go to any one of these. So now let's look at this breadcrumb trail again. It tells me this is in zoning. So I'm maybe some sort of permission where they're able to maybe do marijuana medical use or something. But if I wanted to see exactly what this looks like in Livingston County, I simply click that link. It navigates me directly to their code in a matter of seconds. Gives me the section where it talks about it. Let's go back to cannabis. So I did not mention, and I apologize for that, but as part of our advanced Elasticsearch, we also have a full synonym database. So any variation of the word marijuana will pull up, whether it's cannabis, cannabinoid, marijuana, or marijuana, since Michigan spells it with an H. So it'll pull up all of that information. And we have built our own synonym database because the language in it within a code is a little different than just everyday vernacular. So with that though, once I go back into MuniPro, I can do 2 things once I'm here. I can add a note. So let's say I'm collaborating with somebody else in the city and I want my county attorney to go back and look at this. So I can put county attorney, look at this. Oh, I can't even spell. Add to medical marijuana ordinance, whatever it is. Now, if I'm sharing this, you do get 1 license with the MuniPro with the bundle package. We do have additional licenses available if you want to purchase your own separate one. We do find that sometimes that the attorney department, planning and zoning department specifically, typically usually want their own. But in this event, we're just going to put Lisa is looking for this. And she found that and said, ooh, county attorney, you need to add this to the medical marijuana ordinance, right? It's not doing anything but other than adding a private note. So the only time somebody's going to see this note is if they log into MuniPro using your license. If I go to Livingston County's code online, you're not going to see this note here. The second thing I can do if I'm here though, is I can go ahead and add a draft. I can make a draft of this ordinance automatically. Obviously, when we're looking at drafting ordinances, we're going to pick up other additional sections. It could be definitions, it could be penalties, it could be a lot of different information, right? So we can pick all of that up here. For time's sake though, let's keep it short and we're going to hit this next button. I can go in here and put medical marijuana. And then I can come down here and again, I'm going to put Lisa medical marijuana ordinance draft. And then we're going to save it. Now notice that it's saving to Word, and that is key because I don't want to sit here and have to reformat, re-italicize, re-indent, re-bold, redo any of that. That's a time waste, and we need to stop with all of that madness. So with that, I can simply come in here, remove all references to that county's information. If there's any state statutes, obviously they would already be referenced in here because it's the same state that I pulled the ordinance from. And then I have the guts to my draft ordinance in a matter of seconds, minutes, if you will. I could do some serious drafting off this thing in a matter of time. Doesn't take long to learn it. I'm happy to help anybody that needs help with it. If I go back to my dashboard here, there's a couple of additional features that we can look at. So remember, this is the draft section. So anytime we drafted an ordinance, we can look at it. So I can see Robert's working on a sidewalk ordinance, Fred's working on a short-term rental ordinance. And then if I come down here in my notes, the same thing. So if I'm collaborating here, then that's when I can say research for this. Here's medical marijuana. There's a sidewalk ordinance. All the information is captured and kept on your dashboards, and you can look at those at any time. I can also save searches. So if there's a certain search that you're going to time and time again, I like to refer to budget season because we always like that question. Well, what are other counties charging? Right? We've all heard it and we all go, great, now I get to go do another research project. I don't have to do that. I simply go to MuniPro, put in the search filters the way we did a while ago by county and the population size. And then I can come back and click that at any time and it'll open up that exact search criteria. I can go right back into that county's respective fee schedule or fee and see exactly what they're charging. And if there's any new ordinances, obviously that's going to show up in that new ord bank section. And finally, I like to call this my keep up with the Joneses section. So you did see the wheel working over here forever. So I'm not going to click on it because otherwise we have to sit here and wait for that to update again. It is a real-time service. So it's a dynamic, ever-changing service. Every single time a customer is uploading new ordinances to their code online, every time that we receive them via email and we're putting them into that ord bank holding place where it says adopted ordinance is not yet codified. Every time one of our editors finishes a supplement, it is updated. So what I can see from that is I can go here if I want to see what Windermere, Florida just did. I can view the message and I can see that they've just updated their code. I can see all the sections that they've updated. If they've added any new sections, it would be down here at the bottom and it would have a green button that says new. This is a great feature because when we are talking legislation, we all know that it works in a trending fashion. East Coast and West Coast start the ordinance trends. It slowly works its way to central US, where then we are trying to figure out what best meets our political needs, right? With that, though, we need to know what's going on a national basis. We need to know what's going on a state basis. We need to know what's going on a regional basis, county level, all the way down to a city level. So I can go in and set up this notification any way I want. I can do the entire state. I can do those certain benchmark cities. Let me see about this one. So yeah, you can see this one has some new sections that they've added down here at the bottom. Think about if a new state law was pushed out and everybody has to make sweeping ordinance changes. I don't have to recreate the wheel because let's just hope that Palm Beach, Florida jumps out there and does it first. Then I can go and see all of their new sections of the code. I can see everything that was modified and everything was added. I'm trying to see one that just, so this one was a resolution that was uploaded because they're a hospital district. Let's see. So this city, Maitland, Florida, literally just uploaded a couple of ordinances to their ord bank. So I can see everything that everybody's doing that I want to see by doing that. With that though, let's go take a look at manage the notifications. So I get the map, I can come over here, I can choose Illinois, I can choose the entire state of Illinois. I can choose only certain cities. If I only wanted the counties, I go and set up my own notification the way I want to see it or what I find is most important to me. And then that will populate in your notification box. So every time that wheel is a turning, it's updating new information. That is MuniPro. To me, MuniPro alone is worth the entire value of that premium bundle. it's going to save you that much time. It's going to divert all of that extra time and energy into doing the research, into actually drafting it, implementing it, and communicating that out to the residents, which is the most important piece that I think we, on a city or on a local government level, don't do as well as we can. And that's where the Civic Plus services come into helping do that a little bit more. I know I just went through a ton of information really quickly. Does anybody have any questions for me?
If we decide to do this 20 years down the road, we decide to change who's supposed to have, who owns the data?
You do. It's always your code. We do not hold any proprietary information on the code, on the information. It's all yours.
And all the backup, the previous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All of the archive data and everything. What I would say is if 20 years down the road, you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you come in, you make a copy, you go through all those additional supplements and things and make your copy of each one of the supplements so that you have them. We can probably produce a copy of all of it, but there would be a charge and probably a significant charge for that. But I would say it's all your data. It's all available. So you can go to that supplement at the time, make a copy of it. Any of this information you can download using any of our quick links over here.
Is any of this restricted work product? And are you coming on the edge of practicing law the way you just were describing your use drafting the ordinance?
I'm sorry, I can barely understand what you said.
Okay, is some of this restricted work product that you're now using, and are you kind of on the edge of practicing law without a law license?
And I apologize, I just didn't understand that. I got it. I got the restricted use license.
Ray, walk up there and talk to her.
Yeah, it's very muffled. I guess that's what I should say. I understand you. I just can't hear it very well.
It would seem you might be on the edge of practicing law without a law license.
We do not write
somebody else's work product.
So we do not write any ordinances. We do not write any information. The only thing we do is take the ordinances that you send us and we incorporate that into your code. If you want us to publish a form-based code or a land development ordinance that somebody else required, then that would be on the county or the city to get that authority to publish that.
I hope that's clear in your documentation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great question.
Anyone else have any questions? I guess you've given us quite a bit to think about.
Absolutely. It, like I said, it's a lot of information, sort of like drinking from a fire hose. So what I would say is simply, if you have any questions, let Jill know, let anybody know. They can get in touch with me. They can ask me those questions. I'm happy to give clarification. In order to move forward, I would need to know which option we're going to do, the recod or the republication. And then obviously if you want to do the bundle package, then we can move forward with that. And then I can get the agreement back out so you can sign it and execute that for me, and then we can get your project started.
You have a question, Doug?
Yeah, do we have electronic versions of some of this proposal that he has? And he's gone through a lot of topics and not many numbers, but that's something that then could be shared to some of us who are interested here today.
The recording for it, yes. As soon as I get the recording link, I can send that to you.
Not a recording, but just a breakdown
We have them here.
electronically. Good.
So you're just talking about the actual proposals?
Yes, we have copies of your proposal.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, if any other questions come up, I'm absolutely happy to help. But with that, I will follow up and figure out what our next steps are. But I do appreciate everybody's time. Again, I know it's a lot of information, so I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Okay, thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, you as well.
Okay, bye.
Bye now.
I like that new pro service. I like that we need the ordinance, somebody else might have it ready, that's something nice, it'll be quick. Instead of waiting for a phone call back, that's.
I think most of what you got into had to do with ordinances and that type of thing, rather than what we've been looking at in the books. The part of how the county operates. Part of the ordinance. Here in the back of the book, we haven't gotten that far yet. Both have to go together. But I would say my thinking would be based on what's saying and the information, that's probably the
1375.
yeah, that's probably what we should be looking at, and any other things you wanna add to it is something that we can do. I guess we can, if you wanna make a motion for that, if you can have that. So look into it a little bit further.
So, they wanted to get a copy of the proposal and everything, why don't we, I mean, is there a rush to do it right away, or?
No, they can have, what he's looking at, probably when the board meets, is how that information would be available for every board member. And now we're talking about the committee's action.
Right, but I guess as far as the committee, are we going to continue going through the code book? And if so, how long is that gonna take? Do we accept this now, or do we wait till we're closer to being done with it?
Well, I'm not sure I can answer the question completely, but I think there are things that we looked at in the code book. And whether we go through them now or later are things that need to be looked at. To me, there has to be direction from us to what goes in there, because not only is it serving us, but we're the ones that know the answers. There's nobody in wherever these people are located knows the answers. Many of the things that we've already talked about. So we have to have input. That was why I asked her about when do we do that. I don't think her answer was real clear, but nevertheless, it's something that we have to do eventually. I think it would be, doing it sooner rather than later makes sense. That's a decision that we can make. The ordinances and the review of the ordinances, the articles in the book that relates to state law, those are all things that they can be working on. We need to get some kind of better understanding of the whole process, I guess, is what you're saying.
I agree with that too. Where, you know, can we go ahead and have them do it and then have the supplemental where we keep going through it and every month send them a supplement? Is that what they're saying with that supplemental, or is that?
That's what I was catching on with her, she said you just send them emails and all, okay.
Whenever we do something to change an ordinance and you want to get it updated, yes, we would want to do that. We'd want to get it changed right away anyway.
But do we have to send an email, we can't just select them to do it.
But, I mean, we're basically going through the whole code book right now. Is that too much for a supplemental every month?
Doesn't give an answer to that one.
The parts of the book that we've gone through are probably going to stay the same and not relate to that part of it. The part that in the back of the book about our zoning ordinances and those kinds of things are things that could fall into the category that you're talking about. On the other hand, the last time we went through this was 10 years ago, and many people have said, and I happen to be one that agrees, that that's too long of an interval to update the book. So I think, if you say, well, 5 years, and then we want to do it again, make that a goal, and you go through that again, and if there are updates to the sections that we've already looked at, then yes, you would forward that these people and get them incorporated into the book.
One more question is, do we have other vendors available for this?
From what Breen has told me, probably not. Seems like there might be, but I don't know enough about it. She's really busy right now, and not here this morning to answer, so. That's a question that we probably need to pose to her. I don't think we need to take action on this today, but on the other hand, I don't think we want to let it really too long, because for one thing, I don't know how long these prices are good. And the other thing is, we want to get somebody started on this thing. I think that's another aspect of the thing that we need to consider. I mean, it's your decision, it's not my decision. You guys decide what you want to do with it.
I think at this point, you need to ask Bree if there's anybody else, if the vendor is available. I think the second thing needs to be asked of this lady is, how much is she gonna let us put on there before they start charging us? Well, we're still going through the ordinances.
Yeah. How much does that monthly supplemental cover? You know,
Cover everything, or does it cover?
Is it just a minor change here or there, or is it, okay, our whole, whatever is,
How often are we changing any of our ordinances?
Right.
But,
well, right now,
I know we're working on the wind and solar and battery ordinances, yes, but other than that, we don't. We may have an ordinance or two that we adopt every year as a matter of requirement as far as new ordinances, but existing ordinances, the wind and solar ones are the only ones that we're actually redoing or reviewing and making changes to. I don't think that's, I mean, it's a good question, I'm not saying it isn't, but I just don't think it comes up that often. I guess the answer to your question is something that we can develop later. I don't know, that's, he was out of the room when he brought it up. Mr. Devine? You know, if there's another outfit besides this municipal that we can work with on getting this code updated?
I don't know. I mean, I know they're the biggest and most widely used, but I don't know if other companies.
I mean, we can make a recommendation to the full board, and if at the time the full board.
I'm okay with that. I want the board to have a chance to look at this, just like,
But, you know, at the time of the board meeting, we can always say, well, we're not ready to do anything, and send it back, or whatever.
I do think the wise choice, though, is if we're gonna do this, do the one for $13.75, because that's a premium bundle with the online code hosting, the custom banner, the code book compare, the e-notify, the order bank. But the one I really like is the Municipal service. But Charlie, sorry.
The other thing was with the one for the cheaper one is saying if you want to do something more, it's going to cost the same as the other anyway.
Right.
Charlie?
I thought it was good to have legal advice on this. I think we should also continue that, because in real estate closings, how often do this issue come up? One or the other party doesn't even know what's going on in that regard. That's a service I think we need very badly. Because it's easy to buy a property, this flat land, and then find out later it's different what you thought. So I think legal counsel should look at this very close. I think we should continue on, of course. The sooner we put proper checks for us in place, the better. If there's no other services available for something like this, or if yes, others, we should go about it before we go into it, of course. But we should be diligent in doing this.
So are you suggesting that we table the matter?
I think just hitting the legal department today like we did was good, but I'd like for him to have the chance to study it. There's other services available. I'm sure there's lots of things he's got and he's called and needs to do. But we should continue, hopefully, continuously very quickly.
Table.
Beg your pardon?
So you're suggesting that we table it today, not take any action?
He asked for his, yes, and asked for his services to be available to on the issue.
Are you making a motion to that effect?
Now, look,
Can you second the motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Pass.
Nobody said one way or the other, nobody's for it, nobody's against it. And the monkey shines his head.
I don't know, the ones that made the motion didn't vote for it, I guess. All right, there you go.
assuming I did, they made the motion, that
You're good.
I wouldn't have made the motion.
Your thoughts, make a recommendation of what you want to do that.
Well, we make a recommendation to the board, it can always come back to.
Right. And that's what I like to do, that way, committee, not just the committee, but.
And we can pursue what Charlie wants to pursue in the meantime.
Right.
10 days or whatever.
Right.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, as long as he has convenient time to work on it. He maybe had something real serious right now.
Yeah, and if we don't get the answer we want by time of the meeting.
We can always review our motion.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Why don't you go ahead?
just make a motion recommendation to, accept the bid of $1375, for the premium bundle.
That's the recodification, right? Not
What?
the-
It's 13,750.
Yeah, 1375. Yeah.
That's
$1,375, you like that?
13,000.
Where do you see that at?
for the recodification or the republication, which one?
I'm looking at the premium bundle. What are you looking at?
What can you do with that if you don't do the other first?
You got to do.
Right.
Yeah.
For what, $13,750? What are you looking at? I want to see what your numbers are.
So, recodification is $14,950.
Like the general neutralized.
Plus the under neutral is another $630, which is a total of $15,580.
Where? Oh. I didn't see that one.
I mean, by the time you do just republication, if you do anything else that we might need, it's gonna cost that much anyway.
You know, it sounds so much better on this price. I didn't know that this was part of it.
Well,
My feeling about that is either one that he feels we need should be a recommendation to it.
can we put this in the budget?
John had asked that I put in 16,000 for contingency to the dinner, or to the, county board department other line.
Okay.
So, yes, and 16,000 in there. I haven't seen those pricing sheets to
Doesn't have to spend it all.
see exactly what you guys are looking
So I probably don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to county clerk, I'm sure, but the automation funds too.
at. Yeah.
Well, that would be the renewable stuff we talked about.
Or this as well, I think there's usually costs. I think Lisa Fancher paid for it mostly back in 2013. So, if I'm wrong, you can use that.
That's the way in our,
Right, so I think, and maybe even Heinz would help with the cost as well. The combination funds are larger than the same color.
I can give $72,965.
okay.
So put that in the recommendation. And then we'll take care of the total one time plus the online code and green one. That's just a recommendation.
So read it out loud.
A recommendation for $17,955 to the full board.
For the recodification.
Yes. What else we have? That's pretty bundle. Well, $13,000, $1,375. It is the premium bundle. Thank you.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Bear,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Sure.
All right, now we can get back to him.
There's optional stuff. So you know, yeah.
We can get copies of these, emailed to every county board member later today or tomorrow. There'll be plenty of time to study them in full.
What about ones that will be for next month? Will they be getting it or not?
Include that, I guess if she has a way to communicate with them.
So anybody that is not official yet wants it, we'll figure out a way to, talk to them. It may go on into December before we actually decide.
But they'll be here for the December meeting.
Right.
They'll have it before December meeting.
Where are we at?
That's the hammering. Recommendation from Mr. Devine, the motion was made and seconded that we send a letter to Ameren, and I was in discussion part bringing up some other points that I think are significant to the whole project. I also wanted to see if Vicky has any comments or information relative to the matter that he'd like to share with us.
For a couple of questions that came up that I could speak to, my review of the site plan and what they're supposed to be installing out there, we're not in any violation of the National Flood Insurance Program or DNR requirements for filling the floodway. This is strictly a floodplain fill. Compensatory storage is appropriate, and it's, by filling this area, everyone downstream is going to be additional flood waters to be resolved. So I think it's appropriate for the county to uphold their ordinance, and I agree with the approach of let's start talking to the Ameren and see if we can get the compliance before we want to take measures.
I think the plan could just include moving over to another spot in the floodplain, digging out.
Correct. That's typically how this occurs, is compensatory storage is you're just swapping volume for like somewhere in the vicinity. It could be on the other side of the river, it could be slightly upstream, it could be slightly downstream if there's no measurable impacts. So it's generally you want to be in very close proximity to where you're making the impact.
It seems like it'd be easy enough for a fix.
I think it's just that seems.
I mean, I can see them bringing dirt in if the dirt that's there that they would have to dig out would not be suitable for building on. But then they just need to make sure they compensate.
It's fine if they compensate, but also they need to have what they got in there tested. Make sure they don't have asbestos or whatever hazardous materials.
Yeah, I don't know where they're bringing it from, so.
That's what I'm saying.
I think another matter that we need to recognize and have as a part of our discussion is that where this whole thing could lead to, and that might be action in the court. And if that's the case, one of the things that Mr. Devine has pointed out, that his time here with us is short. He also feels that the next state's attorney may not have the expertise to really pursue some of this. So he's recommending that if we go into action in a court of law, that we seek representation by another law firm. And if that's the case, it's gonna cost some money. And the chances of us, even if we were to prevail to recover that money, I guess are pretty slim. So it boils down to the idea again, if we look at the end result of all this as to whether we're willing to pursue it that far in order to see that the ordinance gets upheld and enforced or not. I think if we're gonna embark on this thing, you ought to be willing to embark on it all the way and not haphazard and whatnot, because you're not gonna scare Ameren off. And their lawyers are probably smarter than our lawyers.
Oh.
I heard that.
I would say more specialized would be.
Wow. I said probably.
Not Daniel.
Probably, I said, I didn't say they are.
They're just a little more specialized.
Awesome.
In the field.
No respect, no respect.
So,
In any event, Mr. Devine is, when I had a discussion with him, he mentioned a law firm up in Kankakee that he thought might be someone we'd want to take a look at. So the question in my mind is if that, we're looking at pursuing that far, at what point might we want to enter into some discussion with our law firm in order to get some better idea of where we're at? For example, Mr. Geiger says that he talked to the Attorney General's office and was told that our county ordinance supersedes this Public Utilities Act insofar as this matter is concerned. Not likely that the Attorney General's office will put that in writing, but on the other hand, it is an indication of where we are, where we might stand. Also, my understanding is Erin Conley with the Department of Natural Resources has also said that, in her opinion, our ordinance is what prevails in this matter.
If the state's attorney requested from the Attorney General, then would they put it in writing?
Well, we have to ask for an opinion. And if they're gonna put any opinion in writing, it's gonna take months. Been down that road before with them, so they're happy to tell you things verbally because they know it doesn't stick, but to have them put anything in writing is difficult. So it would have to come from me asking for an opinion.
Right.
Which, I mean,
If we're looking at litigation, that's gonna be months or years down the road anyway.
right, we could do it simultaneously. If litigation comes, we can still simultaneously ask them for an opinion. And it could be an informal opinion that they give us, which doesn't take care of as long as formal. And that's the call to
I think we're looking at some idea of where we stand in the matter and what our chances of success would be and so forth. And that's also why I think if we're gonna consider an outside law firm, it would be a good idea to interview some of them ahead of time and see what their thoughts are, see whether we think they're able to represent us in the way we want to be represented. So when we want to do all these kinds of things is part of what I think we should be deciding. Writing a letter to Ameren, I think, is, that's the motion we have in front of us, and yes, I think we have proved that. At the same time, I think that it doesn't matter, shall we need to take under consideration. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess, who do you think, I mean, Is that the state's attorney's responsibility, since he is our legal counsel, to find suitable representation, or?
He's made a recommendation, but it's we're the ones that are hiring him, he's not hiring him. Is that correct?
I mean, technically, you know, whoever gets hired is called a special state's attorney, so they do come under the state's attorney's office umbrella. But then I would be asking for the county to pay that fee, so I want to be cooperative, obviously, in whatever we decide going forward.
And you gave a recommendation of one, is there others that may be qualified for this type of litigation?
I need to look into that, to be honest with you. This is outside my wheelhouse, so I don't have a lot of experience with civil litigation. Attorneys who are well versed in enforcing ordinances of counties or municipalities. So I need to look into that. It certainly won't take me long, but I need to look into that. We have a couple of law firms in mind, out of Chicago.
So, I guess what we do is what he wants to do.
It's in its hands.
You want to do something now, send to the full board and have hopefully more information at that time.
Okay, Ken, we have a motion to send a letter to him.
Well, other than,
And I'm confident we're gonna pass that motion. These other things need to be talked about before we vote on it, just so we have a complete picture of what we're looking at and what we're gonna do. So we can pass that motion, or we can have further discussions if you like, and somebody can make another motion, or we can.
well, we got a motion on the floor, we need to vote on that.
Right, but what I'm saying is, we will send a letter to him.
Yes.
And they got 10 days to respond. And they're gonna say, go jump in the lake.
Well, in the meantime, we can search and move off the.
And we're gonna go to court to give an injunction and stop them, and that's where we gotta have another law firm already lined up to do that. That's why I'm saying, even though we don't know what the result of the letter's gonna be, we should be prepared ahead of time to act and not go on a month-by-month delay, and everyone will get it to January or February before something happens.
So I would suggest that we vote on what's in front of us and then make a motion to go ahead and do a search for a law firm to represent.
State's attorney.
Well, he's gonna make a recommendation.
He'll do the research.
Yeah, he's a research guy, that's part of what we're doing.
We're gonna make a motion to have him do that. That's what a lot of us.
Okay, first we need to do the first.
Right.
Let's get going.
Can I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Mitchell?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so we spend all this time and money hiring a law firm. What do we intend to gain by, I mean, they're already building the thing. So we're gonna have a water retention pond. Is that gonna be the end result of all the litigation? I mean, what are we looking for in the end result?
In theory, the end result is we have to enforce our code, our ordinances, otherwise we may as well throw them away.
So we enforce the code, and what do they do? I mean, they've already started building.
So as
They've already
he,
brought the dirt in.
as he explained, the question was, all they have to do is take a comparable amount of dirt out in the floodplain in the general vicinity of that.
That may be one solution.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the simple solution if they agree to do that. And a lot of times, dirt and floodplain may not be suitable to build on, which would be why they bring other dirt in. Then they need to take that dirt out and, you know. But if we don't enforce or at least try to enforce, then we may as well throw the code book away.
Well, I understand, and I agree, we ought to send a letter and then do the formal the end result's not gonna be worth spending all this money on a lawsuit, but you gotta weigh the balance.
As if you had a house that was gonna be flooded.
I have property on that road.
I don't think it's gonna necessarily be expensive. I mean, we're talking about enforcing our ordinance, which is pretty specific. I mean, we'll need to have proof they are bringing fill in, from a non-floodplain source, which we all think we know where it's coming from, at least I do. It's not in a floodplain, so there is apples to oranges. And it's just, it's a pretty specific fact situation. They're bringing fill into a floodplain, which is pretty easily delineated. Is there any exceptions to that? No. I mean, it's black and white, really, what they're doing. They can't do. And we just have to follow our ordinances to let them remedy that wrong. We point out the wrong, we give them time to remedy it. If they don't, then we need to seek an injunction saying, okay, now you need to remove that fill or do something to accommodate bringing this fill in. And it's not going to be a jury trial. There's no sense in having a jury. They're not entitled to a jury trial and an injunction. So it's just a matter of convincing the judge that our ordinances reign superior and that we're enforcing our ordinances and that they're a violation of our ordinances and we want to remedy. So it shouldn't take $100,000 to do this. But it may take a few $1,000s to do this. I don't know how much. That's part of my process, but it doesn't have to be long and drawn out and particularly expensive to pursue.
Thank you.
You got a question too, Mr. Williams?
An observation. And normally on wetlands, if you're doing a development, you have to replace it. I understand. We've done that in our family for decades. If you're taking out some wetland by putting fill in or otherwise changing the land, you have to replace a similar amount of absorption area. That's why you see ponds at shopping centers or other big developments. I don't know if on the engineering thing, because I can't see from the 38 pages that I got, where their detention areas are and where their ponds are located on the 28 acres. And I drove by there this morning, I can't see. So a lot of this is an engineering question. Another point, the city of Winnetka has a pretty decent ordinance on being able to build on a plane. And personal experience, my brother Don had a house he bought on a golf course, and we had to modify it by raising it, and what type of clay you put in and what kind of drainage. A lot of this is solved, a lot of it's more engineering. And the taking the fill in and fill out, maybe if you're building up mounds and other stuff, additional fill is beneficial to the overall goal of not flooding downstream, down the road, so to speak. And the other point is, I don't know if we've notified federal or state EPA as far as the flooding.
They don't have anything to do with this matter.
Well, they might have lawyers that would be,
Talking about a local county ordinance. FEMA's laws,
rules on what,
FEMA's laws apply to flood insurance. This is involving flood insurance. Okay, I think we have to get this thing around enough. We got a motion there in a second. Send the letter to Hamlin. Call the roll, please, Amanda.
Hubert.
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Okay, now, next matter then is what are we gonna do?
I would make a motion to have the state attorney look into optional options for attorneys to,
make recommendations?
well,
To represent us.
yes, represent us in this matter if it comes to court.
And you want your motion also include us if necessary or appropriate to be able to interview some of these law firms too? Or do you wanna leave all that to the state's attorney? What's your preference?
I guess,
We're gonna move on this fast.
yeah, I would say state's attorney with input from the chairman and vice chairman if necessary. You know, that way you can consult with. That way it's not all, you know, there's continuity after next month.
I consider, I think it's an effort, it's a county effort really in a matter like that. So that's a motion, do we have a second? Everybody understands the motion? Call the roll for that amendment.
Dugan, Aaron,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Stern.
Yes. I think that probably takes care of the ambulance subject for today. That's the, nobody has anything further to talk about on that. We've been here a long time, so I think we'll go any further discussion on the county code manual. The appointments will be, all appointments will be made at the board meeting. We have some correspondence here to look at, if you want to pass that around real quick. We even have a letter from Governor Pritzker.
Was there a technical?
No, it had to do with the rural public transportation, the letter that I signed and the county chairman from Livingston County and the county chairman from Fort County signed. This is interesting. While you're looking at the correspondence, do we have a motion to approve the claims today?
Interesting.
I thought you'd find it.
Yeah.
Laughable. Would you like to second the motion? Of the today?
Dugan, Aaron, Paul,
Yes.
Whitlow, Stern.
Do we have any old business to come before the committee this morning? Do you have any new business? I have one question on the new business. According to the calendar, the date for the next policy and procedure committee meeting would be on November 30th, which is a Friday. That's Thanksgiving Day, rather than. Anyway, the question is, do you want to have policy and procedure to meet on Wednesday, November 27th? Or would you rather have a meeting in December sometime? We'll have a pretty busy week in December.
Sounds good to me.
Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday.
It's the day before Thanksgiving.
Yes. That work?
Yes.
Okay. That's what we'll do. That's why I'm asking the question. What to do? That being the case, do we have a motion to adjourn? I'll move. Is there a second? Charlie, you want to second a motion?
I said yes.
Say, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I waved my hand. There's a problem with that.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All same sign, we meeting is adjourned.